This is Below the Line. We spotlight the jobs in the film and entertainment industry that you may or may not be aware of. Welcome back to Below the Line. This is the second part of a two-part interview with Danielle Burgio. In case you missed it, in the first episode, we caught up on the very beginnings of her career, her roots in dance and acting, and now in the second part, we'll get into some of her stunt work, just to name one, because I was going to say most significant. They're all significant. They're all amazing. Matrix Reloaded. We talk about Matrix Reloaded and her stunts, and she also teaches us a lot of the stunt vocabulary that I, for one, had no idea about beforehand, but she's a wizard when it comes to this, so of course she knows, and she imparts that knowledge to us. And then we get into some of the additional filmmaking skills that she's been adding to her resume, like the feature that she wrote and then went on to produce. They made it. It's coming out soon. We can't wait for it. So that's what we have to look forward to as soon as I get done talking. So enjoy this next part of the interview with Danielle Burgio, and we'll see you on the other side. The next part that I want, because you've had all of these different aspects of your career, I want to ask you about everything about stunts, because you have so much experience in that realm. You've had a very impressive stunt career, and so impressive that I have to read off the sheet again because there's so much.
I actually have to look when people ask me sometimes what I've worked on. I have to
Yeah, you're like, did I do that? So you've done, according to IMDb, Blade, The Green Mile, Pearl Harbor, 1 Hour Photo, Daredevil, The Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolutions, and The Hangover 3, just to name a few. How did you get started in stunts? What was the beginning of all of this?
Well, I will say that I had absolutely no aspirations to be a stunt person. I was not like the Daredevil kid growing up thinking I'm going to jump off the roof into the pool or jump out of a plane. Like, that was not me.
Yeah.
But when I moved to LA, after being in New York as a dancer, I came here because I wanted to, get into film and TV. And my dance career went like, boom, right away. So
Because there wasn't as much dance out here?
No, well, when I went to New York, I got my Broadway show like straight up. So then I moved to LA, but I didn't want to dance anymore. I wanted to focus on film and TV, as an actor.
Oh, yes.
And then it didn't happen like overnight.
I haven't.
I know. It's like, well, what do you mean? So after like about 6 months, I was like antsy, like what's happening? And I got into an acting class, and there were some stunt men in that class, and they were doing like martial arts for actors. So I was like, that sounds kind of cool. And they went, this is your ticket. Like you pick it up so easy. And they were like, they need girls to do martial arts movies and action movies, and like that would be a great avenue for you. So I started doing martial arts. I started like showing a little bit of interest. I had a friend who was a stuntman, and he was doing really well. I was like, oh, like you can make that much money doing stunts. Because as a dancer, the pay wasn't that great. And I'm like, stunts, huh? And I never really thought about it. And then he got me my first opportunity, which was on Batman Forever.
Cool.
And it literally was the Cinderella shoe story. The coordinator didn't want to hire me. My friend Keith kept saying, give her a shot. And he was like, no.
Was it just because of how you were green at the time?
I was new, I was green. There were plenty of stunt people that he knew that he wanted to hire. And then the characters were Sugar and Spice. It was Drew Barrymore and Debbie Mazar playing these characters. And Debbie Mazar had this leather corset that was one of a kind, really expensive, and tiny.
Yeah.
That was made for her, and there was only one. And they couldn't find any stunt person to fit the corset. So Conrad Palmisano, who's the stunt coordinator, said to my friend Keith, okay, fine. If she can fit the corset, she can have the job. And that was it. It fit me.
Oh my
Like Cinderella's shoe. And that was my first stunt job. And then the man in my life at the time had a friend who was coming to LA to co-coordinate Blade.
Okay.
And he said, could you, Danielle wants to get into stunts. Could you like maybe hook her up? And so I got onto that movie. Really, there were like probably like 200 stunt people on Blade. And so I kind of snuck in, and then just one thing led to the other, and they kept keeping me on. And so I ended up getting like, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks on that show, and I met those 200 stunt people, and there I started seeing like, oh, this is ratchets, and like they were doing all this crazy stunt stuff. So I was going, whoa, this is cool. I think I really would love to do this. And then I had met on that movie. I'd met a man named Jeff Amata, who is a huge fight coordinator, stunt coordinator. He designed the fights for like the whole Bourne franchise, and he did like Fight Club, and he was doing some Carpenter movies, and so he called and said, what are you doing? Could you come to Santa Fe? And I said, well, I mean, that I'm totally green, right? Like I have no experience, but he loved working with dancers, so he's like, so you'll be fine. I'll be able to show you. He played it down like, oh, it's gonna be easy, and you're just gonna be a vampire, get knocked down, get back up. You'll be fine. So I said, okay, great. I get on the plane, I get there, and he takes me in the rehearsal, and he goes, okay, this is an Arium, and I'm like, what? An Arium is a device that like catapults you through the air with all this pressure. Oh my God. And like I got onto this job, and I was asked to do some pretty big stunts. And normally stunt people are doing it for years before they get to do the things I got to do on John Carpenter's Vampires. And that was like the kickoff for my career. Once I did that, and then I worked with these incredible stuntmen that were on that show that all were so sweet and took me under their wing. Like these legends, Tommy Rosales and Henry Kingi, and like just these like awesome stunt guys. So they took me under their wing, and they made some calls and said, you should hire this girl. She's new, she's great. And that was it. My career just went psh. And so then it wasn't me being like an actor doing martial arts, and it was me actually just like doing for real stunts. Mm-hmm. And I got so into it that I kind of just quit doing everything else. I quit dancing completely, and I took some, martial arts and gymnastics. I took some driving classes. I started hustling. I started doing all of it. And I started working a lot.
Well, and did you find that so much of, because the more that we're talking to people and I'm hearing all these stories, at the beginning, it really seems like if you work hard and you're trying and you've got like a personality that people want to be around, and that you're like just an asset to have to a team, that there will be people that say like, yeah, we want to have you on board, like please come back, like you were on these projects, and they just kept saying, okay, do you want to do the next one now because you have all those traits?
And it's essential, because I was hearing that a lot of stunt performers at that time, like the feedback I was getting is like, oh, they're complaining all the time, or they're whatever, maybe they're not like showing up so enthusiastic and wanting to do the work, and being really focused, and being like, okay, can I help? Can I move the pads? Can I do this?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's people that come on set, especially nowadays, things have changed, so some people show up on set, they want to just like schmooze the actors or take selfies or things like that. That's not going to get you invited back.
Yeah.
If you're not showing up. And what I love about stunts is they really taught me like such good discipline, and every the AD departments and all of them will always say like they love stunts because stunts always show up on time. They're early. If they're not early, they're late. They, if they go off to the bathroom or something, they let somebody know where they are. They're where they're supposed to be. They're, for the most part, they're very disciplined. Yeah. Now things have opened up. A lot of new people have come in to the industry. So I've heard a lot of coordinators complain that like some of the new people, again, like they're lazy. They're not like jumping up to help move pads. They're over at Crafty talking to the actor, pitching their script instead of like, instead of like being there, being focused, being professional. And I think when you do that and you have a good attitude, like that alone will get you so far.
Yeah. Were you daunted at all going into these jobs and not having the like specialized training to start off with? Okay. Yes.
I would always, they'd call me for a job. I'd go like, I don't know if I could do that. And again, versus some people that will say, they will say that they can do something beyond what their skills are. And especially in stunts, like that is like a terrible idea. And there's a lot of that. People say, yeah, I'm a professional, whatever, boxer, cyclist, free diver, when they're not.
Yeah.
And I always erred on the other way. I always would downplay what my skills were. I want to make sure that I can completely deliver and that I don't under deliver anything. So I would often be a little nervous and very upfront about, this is where my skill level is. If you don't want me, that's fine.
Yeah.
And they were great. They would always help me, and most of the time, especially for stunts, like you're doing something you've never done before. So
like the air, what did you call it? The air ram? Like not having ever been pushed across the room.
Yeah, exactly. Or, like every stunt is just a little bit different. So, maybe you've done some minor falls, but like I got asked one time and I had to go off a 3-story balcony, but I had to do it into boxes with high heels and with like carrying props and then doing the part of the scene to take me, and then I had to clear a landing over there. So like I've never done that before, and the whole combination of all those things.
The wearing heels is the scariest part of that
really
situation.
They were like really high heels too. I was like, who did this?
Oh my gosh.
So a lot of the coordinators that I worked for, they were, they got to know me, they get to know their stunt people, and they know, like, they kind of get a sense of what you're capable of and how far that they can push you and where they can trust you. And then if something is super specialized, like a real high fall, 3 stories is actually not like a real high fall. Like
sounds really up there.
Anything higher than that is a specialty. Anything with like fire burns or crashing cars and things like that, those are really specialty things. They're gonna call their specialty people, but there's a certain amount of stunts that you're just expected to be able to do it. But I was always like, what am I doing? I'm terrified. I'm standing on the edge of the building going, am I really gonna do this? This is crazy. But then I'm looking and I'm seeing my friend who just jumped off the building, and I'm like, well, she did it, she's okay, so I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, like if your mom says like, oh, if your friends jumped off the bridge, like, would you? Yeah,
well,
you're like, yeah.
If they lived.
Yeah, exactly.
And if there's a paycheck at the end of
at the very bottom, underneath where my heels are going to be in a second.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's something about your personality or traits that you have just as a person that that drew you into this world and made you stay there? And do you think that you see any commonalities in between any of the other stunt performers that you know?
I always felt a bit different than the rest of the stunt performers. Again, because it just wasn't really in my nature. It kind of just happened to me, and I think I was just smart enough to recognize the opportunity and say yes. And for me, it has been a monster lesson of learning to face my fear, which has kind of been like my motto through life now. It's like, face your fears. If you're scared of something, like look it in the face and, don't do something stupid. don't go jump off a building.
Make sure there's the padding underneath
it all the safety things, and I'm not encouraging people to be stupid, but life was presenting things to me, and it just felt very much like opportunity that I was afraid of that. It's a healthy kind of fear. Mm-hmm. And so, for me it was just, there was something addictive about always being pushed to my limit of fear and then conquering that and saying, I'm terrified of jumping off this building, but I'm going to do it. And then I do it and I'm okay. And I'm like, that feels really good.
Yeah, I bet.
And also I was getting to work with, like, it really was my dream. I was getting to work with the big directors, producers, actors. I was traveling. I was like,
and you were active, which was something that you were so active in dance, and so being able to like kind of transfer all of that energy into something else maybe.
And I was getting acting opportunities as well, more than I was before. And then it was just like, well, this is the life that I dreamt of, but just in a different way. Like I dreamt of being on movies with the big actors and the big directors, but I didn't imagine it as doing stunts. But I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. What you briefly mentioned, like that there's some specialties that stunt performers have. Can you walk me through a couple of those because I'm such a novice at any of that?
Well, fire burns for sure. So someone will, if you see somebody in a movie that is fully in flames, their whole body is in flames.
Yeah.
They will, put fire gel on, and they have, sometimes oxygen hooked up to them. There's just a whole, and that's a very dangerous stunt. So that's something that's very specialized. I don't do it. I never wanted to do it. I had opportunities where people said, do you want to train? Do you want to learn? We'll show you. And I was like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll leave the fire to somebody else. Also high falls. So, there are performers that will, go out of a 20-story building into a bag without a wire. And they might go with an explosion behind their back. They might go through break through a glass pane and then, do a super high fall. That high falls are probably the most dangerous thing that you can do. You have to, if you don't have the perfect launch, you can overshoot your landing spot. So they put usually a giant airbag down, and they have people there to safety it, to kind of move it around a little bit. But if you hit it wrong, or if you push out too far or whatever, that's fatal.
Yeah, our bodies are kind of fragile.
Yeah, especially if you're falling from 10 stories. It's not going to end well.
If you walking from the kitchen and stubbing your toe.
Yeah. So that, and then the car work when people are doing what's called pipe ramps and cannons. So pipe ramp is when they drive a car into, they'll put a ramp on the ground, and they'll hit the car at a certain speed at a certain angle, and that will make that car corkscrew in the air. You see them all the time in movies, during a big action sequence. So those people are very skilled, and that's very specific. They'll put cages in the car, they'll get a 5-point harness and a helmet and all that, and they'll take that car and they'll just do crazy things. Or a cannon. A cannon is where a car is driving, and then a hydraulic tube comes out of the bottom, and it'll just hit the ground, and then they'll pop that car up in the air. And it looks a little bit different than a pipe ramp. The car will kind of go like that. A cannon, the car will just fly. So I don't do any of that. Wow.
Riding, slamming into the wall. He's airborne.
Yep, I'm flying through the air. This is not good.
I don't even know how you train for something like that.
It's pretty exciting to be on set and see it, though. I have definitely, in the Matrix Reloaded with the huge freeway crash scene.
Yeah.
I got to be on the other side of the freeway as one of the catch cars, right? In case one of the cars come over. One of the catch cars. So I literally was driving down the freeway, watching this entire wreck, and I think it was something like 13 cars airborne at once, right here next to me. And it was all my friends flying through the air, it was pretty amazing. So I've gotten some really cool experiences on set.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And at no point where you said I don't want to be lit on fire, but you also have no interest in doing the more of the car stunts or the dropping from 20 stories up or any
No.
No.
I've done a lot of car work. I did a lot of commercial work, driving cars for commercials and things like that. So, and I've done some I've had to do a couple of minor little fender benders, that kind of thing. It's really nerve-wracking when they ask you to wreck a car in any way.
Yeah.
So I've done some of those
Is
things.
it because you can't unwreck the car normally?
Yeah, and cars are expensive too.
Yeah.
If you screw up the shot with with the hero car, It's not good. They get real mad. I did a commercial once with a Jeep where the spot was that there was like a Jeep in the middle of nowhere parked on this, like one wheel was parked on the top of this rock. And then it's like this handsome guy gets in and he pulls out of like the parking spot, and then this girl rolls in and she like takes the spot. So she takes the Jeep and parks up also like on the side of the thing. Yeah. And
you leaving?
Yep.
Introducing Wrangler Rubicon, the mightiest Jeep 4x4 ever.
I was the stunt double to do that stunt, and it was pretty nerve-wracking. And I hit it perfect. Perfect speed, perfect spot, perfect everything. I was like, thank you. I get it up there, and all of a sudden the car goes like really slow. The Jeep just went. And again, this is like the hero Jeep for a Jeep commercial.
And Jeeps are top heavy, right?
And they were really mad, and I was really stressed out. And then they were like, "Okay, get the other guy to do it." And so, and then the other guy couldn't do it. And then they realized, because they had tested it on the one car, and there was a difference in the transmission because one was an automatic and one was a manual.
Oh, which one were you driving?
I had the manual.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a difference in the weight of the transmission, and that threw the whole thing off. So then they were able to make an adjustment in the night, and then I ended up doing it successfully. And I was like, oh my god!
Oh, but then he had to go back and he had to do it again with the other car.
Yeah.
After everyone thinks that like.
Well, see, this is the thing with stunts. You have to do it again and again and again and again. And so that's what a lot of people don't realize. People go, oh yeah, I'll throw my body down the stairs. And it's like, but will you do it again and again and again after you've already busted your elbow and it's like split open? Will you keep doing it knowing you're going to hit it in the same spot? And will you give it the same inertia? Will you throw your body hard to make it look violent when you're already injured and you're just dying and you just want to go home?
Yeah.
And everything hurts. Will you keep doing it?
And then you explain that to them, and they're like, "Yeah," and then they do it, and they're like, "No,
Yeah,
I won't." Again.
So that's a prerequisite. I tell people, if you want to get into stunts, you have to not just be willing to throw yourself into the brick wall. You have to be willing to do it over and over and over when you're already injured and hurting and tired and bleeding.
Yeah.
You still have to do it. So.
Oh, wow, fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, it is. It actually kind of is. It's weird. It's fun.
Yeah.
It can be.
Well, and then like seeing at the end of the day what you've pulled off and like what you've been able to accomplish is probably amazing as well. And you kind of, you brought up the air ram, and I want like, are there any other like terms for like the technology that you're using, or for like the different moves that you're doing, like stunt lingo that you think are like everyone's stunt dictionary should have these terms?
Well, so funny enough, when I did that first movie, John Carpenter's Vampires, so they were like, this is an alien. So I was like, great. We did that bit, and I thought it was over, and then they said, okay, take her to get squibbed. And I was like, squib? What is that? What is a squib? I didn't even know. Yeah. And a squib is when they put like a little explosive device on you, so when you get shot on camera with a gun, and the gunshot goes, psh, and a little blood comes out, that's usually a squib. So it's a little, little fire, psh, and then they put a safety backing on it, they put a little blood pack on it, so it's a little like mini explosive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned about that.
Does it hurt, or you don't feel a thing?
Hopefully you don't feel a thing. Sometimes they bite a little bit. It kind of depends on where in your body, and it depends on a lot of things. So, I've had squibs on my head. I've had squibs everywhere. That first time I got squibbed, I actually had 13 squibs at once.
Oh my gosh!
So it was a first time, like nerve-wracking. I had 5 actors with machine guns pointed at me, just going like, brrr, and everything was like blowing up. There were squibs on the wall. The whole set was blowing up. It was nerve-wracking, like super nerve-wracking. squibs. Ratchets are when they'll usually put you in a harness and then tie a line to you and jerk you back. Sometimes they do it by hand, sometimes they do it on a machine. So when, like, you know, Neo in Matrix gets, like, you know, you go like this and then he goes flying back into the wall, that would be a ratchet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of sneaky little terms.
Yeah.
Those are some big ones.
Man, it sounds so cool. So we're wondering if, see, I have to check my sheet list again because we've done so much, done so many cool projects. If you could tell us what stunts you did on a few of these projects. I'm just gonna like go down the list really quick. So you did Batman Forever.
Right, so that was the first one that I ever did, and all I had to do, there was a scene
You had to wear the corset.
I had to wear the corset, that,
Yeah.
and the really, really high heels, so that in itself was a stunt. I had to run in those heels, and that's pretty much all I had to do. My first job, they were, there was like a glass cylinder, I think it's something like the Joker, it's been so long, and the glass cylinders drop, and like, it's like an explosion, and everyone just has to like, get out of the way and run.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had to run in heels.
So I had to run
And
the
of
hills,
course,
like,
which probably just
like they were like dropping the big glass thing and
Yeah.
get out of the way.
And then Blade did.
Yeah, so again, the second job, I didn't have like a big role in that at all. It was one of like what they called utility stunts or MD stunts, which is just, you know, just sort of the background stunt people.
Oh yeah.
I think I like shot a gun and like rolled down a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, nothing really that exciting.
I think it's. I mean, like you saying it's because I'm late. I think people
I mean, there
think
were
that's
big
exciting.
stunts that I've done on some projects, and then some projects you're just kind of like, I ran out of the way.
Okay, what about not another teen movie? Is that one that you're like, did I do
I
that?
was like, yeah. I was like, what did I do in there? Oh yeah, I jumped. I had to jump. This was actually really funny. I had to jump from a balcony. There was a scene where I think she's drunk and she jumps from the balcony into a pool.
Oof.
So, but the tricky thing about it was that I was doubling the actress, so I had a wig on. And when you hit the water, like in a cannonball, it's just gonna rip that wig, like right off your head.
Yeah.
So the hair people were like, okay, we need to like, they put about 1,000 pins in that wig. And I was like, okay, all right, ow, like when you're doing stunts, like you hate having to do wigs, and then if it's a big stunt, they really will like staple it to your head. It's so uncomfortable, it's painful. They put so many pins in that wig, and it didn't matter. When I hit the pool, it ripped it off my head.
Oh, it probably hurt so much more because the pins.
And I was, oh my god, it was terrible. And then like I went in and the wig went to the surface of the wall.
Party! I'm a golden goddess! Show us how drunk you are!
I might have done something else on that, I don't remember, but that one I remember.
I hope they kept
Some
that
of them
in the
are
movie because it's supposed to be a comedy,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
sound hysterical.
So.
And then you talked about Ghosts of Mars. What about Pearl Harbor? Was that
Pearl Harbor, I doubled Kate Beckinsale, and there was a scene where she's in the nurse station where a bomb hits it and everything blows, you know. So they had all the beds were on ratchets. Remember, again, ratchets are on the wires that like yank them across. So they blew out all the windows, everything, exploding glass, exploding debris, beds flying, and you know we were all like in the room. Just,
Whoa.
yeah. For that, and then there's another scene where she's coming down. We shot the Queen Mary down in Long Beach.
Oh, cool.
And so there's a scene outside the boat where she's with Ben Affleck on like a platform. It's like a little romantic bit. I think it like kind of, you know, lets go for a little bit and they almost fall.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
These are all like my really, really early ones.
Okay, what if we fast forward to the Matrix movies?
Yes.
Did you just do so much on that it's even like hard to list? Or?
No, actually, I didn't. Carrie Ann did a lot of stuff herself.
Yeah.
And then Debbie Evans, who's literally the most amazing stunt woman that ever lived. She is like known for being the woman on wheels. She did all of the freeway stuff. So the driving motorcycle, all the wheel work was Debbie Evans. And then I did more of the other stuff, like fighting and getting smashed around. So I think, like, for me, my best part, there's the scene where the agent is coming after Trinity. The elevator doors open and she's standing there, so she, like, backflips back. Jumps up, kicks him, and then they start fighting, and he picks her up and he just starts slamming her into like the walls, and he at one point he picked me up by my neck, pushed me up the wall, and then threw me, and I went straight to my back on the floor, and then he picked me up again, slammed me into one wall, and then goes like this. It throws me through the wall. I had to go through the wall. And then the last bit of that scene where she goes out the window was actually Carrie. I think the last part of that scene, but I did the whole rest of that.
You helped her a little bit from saving herself from being like thrown around everywhere.
She does. She does the cool part where she goes out the window with the guns and is like that iconic thing. That was her.
Well, can I ask how long did that? Was that like just a few hours? Was it like a day or two? Or
it was a couple of days. We did it mostly. It was like one whole really long, hard day, and then the going through the wall bit wasn't totally working because I would the momentum of hitting the wall would like I'd go through the wall and just couldn't drop, and the directors wanted me to travel through the room deeper. Yeah, and they only had 3 walls, so we did 2 takes with the 2 walls. And then they were like, okay, we're going to cut for the day, and we're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to do it the last one, but you guys got to get it right.
But was it like just that you didn't have like enough weight to you?
It was, well, it's a whole lot of moving parts, you know? Yeah. So we rehearsed it without the wall there, and because I was on what they call a hand pull, so not a hydraulic pull, but they actually had the stunt team on pulling. So they were like be on a ladder holding the thing, like jump off, so get the pull. So, you know, adding some extra guys, adding some extra inertia to get me through. Yeah. So it was really stressful because you don't want to disappoint the Wachowskis. Yeah. And it's like, we've got one wall left. It's like, oh gosh, I hope this works. So it worked. They pulled me through the wall, but it was so hard that when I hit the ground, I actually broke my rib. So yeah, so that happens. Yeah. But it was worth it. Yeah, it was worth it. And I got to do some other cool stuff in the movie too. There were other bits here and there, but that was like that was the one big like chunky scene where I got to do a lot of cool stuff.
Is that also your biggest break in terms of body?
Oh yeah, biggest break.
Yeah, I know that makes it sound like
in more ways. Yeah, exactly. It was a big break for my career, and it was a big break on my road. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Well, those sound incredibly so much. And then another question that we would love to ask you is the level of involvement that a stunt performer has in the production, like in terms of choreography, in terms of like how the scene is going to be told, like how much input do you have? Does it just depend project to project?
I think typically not so much. Like the stunt coordinator is the one that's working with the director to deliver the vision and creating the choreography and designing the shot and, you know, figuring it all out. As the stunt performer, you know, you definitely are having a conversation about safety or, you know, what maybe, and if you have ideas of things that could enhance things, or if you're having trouble with something, you're going to work with the coordinator to figure it out to make it work. but on a creative level, you're not typically.
Has there ever been a time where you've had to say, like, I don't know if this is possible, or is that like the worst thing you could ever say and you're not supposed to say that?
Yeah, you try not to say that, but I mean, if that's true, then you need to say it.
Yeah.
You know, you definitely, you know, any concerns that I have, always going to take it to my stunt coordinator. Like that relationship between the stunt coordinator and the stunt performer is really important, and good communication is really important. I mean, it's not just your safety, but it's the safety a lot of times of either the other stunt performers or the cameraman or whatever, because there's times where, you know, you're flying towards camera or you're working with other actors, or, you know, so safety is always a concern, and obviously like your own safety.
Yeah.
So if there are concerns, then I'm always bringing them up and talking them out. And luckily I got to a place in my career where I got to pick and choose the coordinators that I wanted to work with. And if I got called from a coordinator maybe that I didn't trust or didn't have the best reputation, then I can say no.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like the ability to say no is very important.
Yeah.
Are there coordinators and or stunt performers that like inspire you, that you look up to, that have been kind of sort of like guiding lights in any way throughout your career?
I mean, I have so many beloved people that have taken care of me and helped me and guided me along the way. Jeff Amata, definitely the one that started my career, and then I did a lot of work with him and for him over the years, and he became a really good friend. And he's someone I trust completely with my life. Like,
that's a big thing to say.
Yeah.
We cannot say that about everyone.
No. So he's one of the top ones. And then my friend Alex Daniels is another stunt coordinator who has just hired me so many times over the years. Like, he just believes in me. And so we had a really great working relationship. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's so many good ones out there. So many ones that I love.
Have you been a stunt coordinator on sets before? Or
I've done it a couple times begrudgingly.
Okay.
And then I actually, like, I got talked into doing it, and then I actually enjoyed doing it. But only a couple times, and I don't really want to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. See, the power of saying no.
Yeah, I have enough other things I'm trying to do, so I need to add that to the list.
When you are working on, when you're working on set, and there's so many times that I'm sure they're putting like wigs on you, and they're doing, you know, like you have to wear like a certain corset and the right heels. Like, how much does that play into what you're doing and affect what you're doing and your relationship with like the wardrobe department or the hair and makeup in terms of having it all come together?
Yeah, the hair, makeup, and wardrobe can definitely be another obstacle.
Yeah.
And usually, like, those departments are really good. They know when there's going to be a stunt involved. They will try to
That's good.
make it easier on you. Like, you'll have like the real heels, and then you might have some stunt heels where just for that one part where it's the gnarliest part of the stunt, you can put on something that's safer to run in or whatever. Or you know, they'll make some adjustments, or they'll say, hey, like, this character is going to do this huge stunt, so we can't, like, let's not have her in lingerie. But then again, I've had to do stunts in lingerie. Like, I got hit by a semi truck and flattened, like, flew through the air to the ground in a teeny tiny pink teddy, and I was just like, how are you even going to hide a harness under this? And so the wardrobe department was amazing. They figured it out, but I was like, all right, well, Godspeed to you. But, like, I couldn't wear any pads, so that
Did you know
happens a
that
lot.
going in, or was this sprung on you, or are you?
I mean, I kind of knew, but I didn't know how they were going to do it. I was like, oh, they'll figure it out. And then, you know, you think like, oh, they'll end up rewriting it, and I'll be like in a robe.
Yeah. It's just, you ever think about things like this? Like, people in other industries, not this one, don't even have to think about that, about having to wear a tiny teddy while being hit by a semi-truck. Like, they don't even think about those things,
No,
you know?
not usually.
Yeah. How bonkers.
Yeah. So yeah, hair, makeup, and wardrobe can be definitely an obstacle. It adds a whole nother layer. And a lot of times, you know, it's freezing cold out and you have to be in a bikini, or it's the other extreme, you know, it's 105 degrees out and you're in a wool coat. And that can just be like another layer of like exhaustion and complication and all of it.
Yeah. So, continuing with the theme of transition through careers and having all of these different skill sets that we pick up along the way, you are also a writer. You are the author of the book The Stunt Woman's Workout, and you have a feature script currently in post-production that you wrote with your writing partner, and it's called Squealer. And before I ask you all the questions about that, I would love to just pick your brain about writing in general, because you wrote a short film that you mentioned that you also then directed and produced as well. So did you have any writing training? Did you say like, I've been in enough movies at this point that I think I can figure out how this works? Or
I know nothing about writing. And I talk to all these writers and I'm like, writing to me is like torture. It just feels so hard. And they're like, yeah, you're doing it right. A lot of writers apparently feel that way. And I'm like, that can't be. But I find the process like really difficult. When I wrote Lucy Falls, I had an idea. I wrote the script, and then I worked with my friend Chris Nelson, who plays Joe in the movie. Chris Nelson happens to be an Oscar-winning special effects makeup artist, who also is an incredible actor, who played the groom in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill.
wow.
Chris is amazing.
You must be Tommy.
Uh-huh.
Arlene's told me so much about you.
Honey, you okay?
Oh, I'm fine. Tommy, I'd like you to meet my father.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God, this is great. I'm so glad to meet you, sir. Oh, Dad.
The name's Bill.
Well, it's great to meet you. Bill.
And at the time that I wrote and he's also a great writer, so when I wrote the script and I wanted him to play the abusive husband, he helped me so much with the writing, and he taught me a lot about writing. He taught me, like, you know, show it, don't tell it, you know, don't put it in the words, just show, you know, show it in other ways. And he helped me revise that script into something that was watchable. I think I came across an old version of that script a few years ago, and I didn't even recognize it. I was like, what is this? Did I write this? I don't even remember writing it.
Yeah.
So that was my first education with script writing, and then over the years I've toyed with it, but reluctantly, and it always felt awkward. And then I met my now creative partner is Andy Armstrong, who's a huge stunt coordinator, second unit director, and I knew that he was wanting to get back to his roots of directing, and he was interested in having me as a producer on some projects, which was super exciting.
Yeah.
And when he gave me some of his scripts, it started off with me just having ideas of how to tighten it and polish it. And, you know, so we started working together, and he taught me so much about writing. And also he brought that confidence in me. Like, he really encouraged me and mentored me and was like, you're really good at this. You know, like, just having that confidence was like a big part of it. And then I think it is just a lot of being in the industry for so long. I think I've always had a strength to be able to watch a movie and know what worked and what didn't, and like, was it a script issue, was it a director issue, was it an actor issue? You know, because the script is really like the foundation to everything, so that has to be there. I think I had just a sort of natural knack to be able to like separate it and say what was working and what wasn't, at least like for me. And then I took some script writing classes, and I think through a lot of acting classes, like where you learn about character development and a lot of things that you learn as an actor really apply when you're writing script. And then it just became like just practice and doing it. And then doing it with Andy, I first worked with a script that he had already written that we were, you know, just revising, and we really like elevated it together.
Okay.
Um,
And that was not Squealer.
That was not Squealer. So
Okay.
that's a film called Getaway that we are currently pitching. So that was our first project together. And we started pitching that and we realized like this is kind of a bigger budget. This is a big thing. This is a big ask to get the financing on this movie, especially because he hadn't directed in a while. And we were working together for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided just before the pandemic that we should pivot and create something together that would be a lower budget, something we could do as more of a proof of concept and our like little warm-up project. So
Yeah.
knowing that horror was a good genre for that, it's like a little bit easier they have such an amazing audience and like such a strong demographic, it can sometimes be easier to get financed and you can do it a little lower budget. You don't need the like huge stars.
Yeah.
So we decided to create Squealer with that in mind. So that one we wrote together from the ground up, and now we've been working together for 3 years and have multiple scripts. And now I'm writing some of my own scripts, and it's just been practice.
Right. Is it still torture when you're writing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought, and then you were gonna say like, and now it's just a breeze whenever I sit down to type. Okay.
I feel like it's torture, and I also, for me, I feel like I have to have a really calm space and like a clear desk. You know, if I'm gonna sit down to write and I've got a stack of bills, I'm like, I need, and that to get to that place in my life, because I'm always busy and doing so many things, like to find that space where I can just sit and write, that's kind of the hardest part. And I have found that if I take my computer out, like when I'm traveling, I write more and I write better, I think, because I'll take my computer to a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll sit and I'll write. But if I'm just back there in my office,
Yeah.
I get distracted by my dog or by my phone or by,
Oh yeah.
something that's happening that I feel like I need to go and, I don't know, buy some toilet paper or I don't know. It's just really easy to distract myself.
Yeah. It's the whole work from home conundrum. It's like, oh, the ease of working from home, but also the working from home and having all of these distractions because it's not a place like just for work.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. Is that one of the easiest things like in your writing process is to take yourself into a new space and then say this is the only task that we're doing is writing? Or what is like, do you have any tips or tricks for the kids at home that you would say, yeah, this is really helping me?
I think what helps me the most is having a partner. I need the accountability and I need someone to bounce off of. Some people can write by themselves, but I cannot. And I find that like with Andy, what's great is that, so I'll have an idea, but I'll need to bounce it off of him. And then he might have some ideas. And sometimes it'll be like, his ideas are great, but other times he'll be like, no, that's not what I want it to be. But then I get clarity on exactly what it is that I want through talking it out. And that helps push me forward. Where I feel like it's the easiest for me and the best for me is when he writes a scene. So I always love for him, when we're writing together, I love for him to start. He's really good at like throwing the color on the page. And then I'm better at like, okay, well, we've got to draw some lines. We've got to structure it.
Yeah.
So we kind of have like a really nice balance of our strengths and weaknesses together.
Yeah.
Which is what it took me years to find, but it's really...
That's an incredible partner to find and be able to work with.
Yeah, so I like it when we'll talk about something, and I'll have an idea about it, and I'll say, you start it. He'll write the scene, and then I'll go, okay, but I was thinking about it more this way. So then I'll contribute, and we'll kind of go back and forth. Once that process is like in flow, then it's easy. Then because he'll shoot me pages, and then it doesn't matter what's on my desk. It doesn't matter what else I'm doing. I want to dive into those pages, and I want to get it done, and I want to get it back to him. And then it's in his court, so I can go do my errands and take the dog on a walk and do all that. And then when it comes back in my court, I'm like really inspired to dive in.
Yeah.
So.
Is it also helpful having another person to bounce off the ending, like knowing when a script is finished? Did you guys for Squealer both feel like this, like the script is done, like we can both say goodnight to this? Because you also mentioned some rewrites.
It's never finished.
Okay.
And I mean, I just learned this because this is the first film that I've been a writer producer on, like my first feature.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we were like, okay, this is the script, it's done. And the other producers, the ones that brought the financing, they kept saying like, you know, can we cut it down a little bit? And we were like, no. And then, you know, we get there and we're like, we have to cut it down. We don't have enough time to shoot everything. We don't have enough time to shoot what's on here. Yeah. And then we had to, based on the locations that we had to change some things. We had some other logistical things where we had to change a lot of the night work to day, and that shifted everything.
Was it like juggling actors' schedules, or was it like...
It was like a little bit of everything. There's actor schedules, issues with the location, budget issues that we just couldn't afford certain things. And then, like, for example, we had this one character who was an African-American woman in her 40s that was supposed to be my best friend. There was this whole storyline, and we just couldn't find the right casting for it. Well, we ended up making it a man, and it was great. It worked great, but it required, like, reworking a lot of the relationship and, you know, not just changing from a woman to a man, but it was more involved in that. So things happening literally, like, all the way up until shooting, and then once we started shooting, we actually went through cherry pages. So, you know, once you start shooting, every time you do a script change, it's a different color pages, so that the crew and the cast and everybody can kind of keep track. And when you get to cherry, it means you've really done a lot. A lot of color pages changes. It was like every other day we had new pages coming out. And I didn't realize it was going to be like that. I thought, like, we wrote the script, so I'm going to show up. And I'm not going to have to worry about the writing, because I was a writer, a producer, and an actor. Yeah. But I was like, well, this will be done, and the producing will be this, and so I'll just be able to focus to be an actor. No, it was not like that.
Well, so then it sounds like you had to kind of, like, unmarry a lot of the decisions that you had made in the story beforehand. Was that kind of, like, freeing in any way, of having to say, like, you know what, nothing is set in stone anymore, so, like, we are just open to possibilities?
It was terrifying.
Yeah. Okay.
And it came to me, I think it was like 48 hours before we shot. And he said, we need to cut about like 17 pages. And I was like, what? Like, that's impossible. How are we going to do it? And I had a meltdown. I was like, no, we can't do it. And he said, here's what I think. We can do this. We can do that. And I went, I really wanted to, like, scream and cry, and
you're like, everyone go home.
But I didn't have time. Like, I literally had no time. I was like, okay, I guess we just have to do it. And he convinced me how we can do it, so we just went to work and we did it. And honestly, I think in the end, the film is definitely better for it. Like, it's lean. You know, we cut all the fat out. All these things that we wanted, that we were so in love with. And they always say that, like, when you make a movie, they use the expression, you got to be prepared to kill your babies. Because it's like, you created all this stuff, and then you got to just go, you're out. And it's painful. But you're either going to do it before you shoot, or you're going to do it in the editing room. So if you've got limited time and resources, like, I think it's good to write the script the way you want it. And then before you shoot, you really want to go in and you want to cut all of the fat. Anything that doesn't absolutely need to be there. Get rid of it. That's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
But then in the end, you're like, oh, it's better. And now I can't imagine it being the other way.
Right. You've described a lot of things like that, of being really painful, but then it works out at the end.
It's kind of my life experience, I guess.
Yeah. This interview has not been painful at all, though, to talk to you. It's been so much fun.
Thank you.
Before we go, do you have any social media that people can find you at, or anything that you want to promote as well that you're working on?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I mean, I think if you search my name, but it's Danielle Burgio 1111. So I think there might be some fake people out there trying to be me, but I don't know why they would.
And 1111 because it's lucky?
1111 because it's just like my little spiritual number.
Ooh.
I love 1111.
Yeah.
So yes, Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on Vero, which is the app that Zach is on. So any Zach fans, that's the only thing he posts on Vero.
Cool.
And that's it. As far as promoting, I mean, just hopefully Squealer will be out there soon. I'd love for everyone to come see it.
Yes, that sounds like fun. I want to see it. You want to see it. You want to see it. You want to see it. We're all seeing it.
Okay, just don't see it if you don't like anything scary or gory.
Oh, I'm gonna probably cry. I cry in more movies.
Okay,
so,
well then you're
yeah.
gonna cry. I hope you cry.
Oh,
I hope I
thank
make
you.
I hope I make you cry.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
chatting with me. It's been such a pleasure
It was
and
so fun.
an absolute delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.